Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. In this video we'll be going over the Magicka Sorcerer for Murkmire. Now this is a pet build and it's also kind of a heavy attack rotation build. So you just keep that in mind with the sets. Now, stat sheets. Max Magicka is 47.8, our maximum health is 18.1, and we have 806 magic recovery. Our spell damage on our Maelstrom bar is 1.9 with spell crits 53.4, and on our main bar our weapon damage is 2.3 with 57.2% crit. Magic recovery is also goes down to 792. Now, we are running the thief, and we are using basic blue food. Now, you can use Witch Mother's food if you like. Witch Mother's brew. Your magic recovery will go up over 1,000. Your max magic will drop to around 46. Your max health will drop around 16. But because we are using heavy attacks, I haven't really had much of an issue with sustaining, so I'm okay with where this is. If you have trouble sustaining for the first bit, definitely switch out for Witch Mothers. Champion points: 34 into Warlord, 23 into Sprinter, 75 into Tenacity, 64 into Arcanist, 37 Shadow Ward, and 37 Tumbling. And we have 23 into Spell Erosion, 64 into Elemental Expert, 48 Elfborn, 27 Blessed, 42 Staff Expert, 26 Master in Arms, and 40 Thermometer. 28 Ironclad, 15 Spell Shield, 12 Light Armor Focus, 64 Hardy, 64 Elemental Defender, 44 Bastion, and 43 Quick Recovery. Now, sets. The first set we have here, or the first thing we have here, is our Maelstrom Staff. We have it charged with increased weapon damage enchant. Now, infused or not would definitely be better. Personal choice would be infused. I just don't have the transmutation crystals to transmute this. But as soon as I get 50, which I am just short 12, this will be infused. So the first 5-piece set, what the Maelstrom Staff does is it gives your light and heavy attacks deal an additional 1.3k damage to enemies in your wall of elements. So because we are a heavy attack rotation build, this is definitely nice. Definitely helps us pump out a lot of damage. Now, the first set we are running is Lightning Staff of Infallible Aether. That's our staff. The set is the Infallible Mage set. We have it Nern with a shock damage enchant. If you wanted to, you can use Infused as well here. So you could double Infused if you wanted to. What this set does is that it gives you Spell Crit, Minor Slayer, increasing your damage done to Dungeon, Trial, and Arena monsters by 5%. Spell damage, and then the 5-piece gives you Spell Crit, and it also gives you your fully charged heavy attacks deal an additional 903 damage to enemies. Enemies you damage with fully charged heavy attacks are afflicted with minor vulnerability for 10 seconds, increasing their damage taken by 8%. Now, this set comes out of every Craglorn trial: AA, ESO, and Hellraw. So real quick, let's go ahead and dismiss our pet real quick. Just show you something. With the Lightning Staff here with IA, you don't have to do it fully charged. You just have to pop it. That light attack, so it will, for whatever reason, you don't have to do a fully charged heavy attack in order to afflict the enemy with minor vulnerability. So all you gotta do, that's it. Then of course, the monster set we're running is the Lambrus, and that just looks so sweet, doesn't it? I love that. It's absolutely cool. So, anyways, Lambrus, we're running medium head Divines and heavy shoulder Divines with Max Magicka. Now, perfect opportunity. The head would be Divines heavy, and the shoulder would be medium Divines for most of your resistances. But this is just what I have. So, Lambrus gives you Max Magicka when you deal flame or shock damage. You have a 10% chance to summon a meteor shower of that damage type that deals 1.6k damage to all enemies within 4 meters every 1 second for 5 seconds. Each effect can occur once every 8 seconds. As you saw, it just rains down lightning. It looks really cool. Now, our second 5-piece set is Necropotence. We're running it all in the body and Divines because of the fact we want this to stay stagnant at all times. And we do run a pet. So because we run that pet, we get Max Magicka, Max Magicka, Max Magicka. And while you have a pet active, your Max Magicka is increased by 3.1. Now, your pets, their damage is based off of your Max Magicka pool. That's why we have such a high pool in Max Magicka. In the jewelry, we're running IA jewelry, all arcane, all with spell damage. Now, you could run 1 or 2 Bloodthirsty if you wanted to. It's entirely up to you. Now, you also run the legs, head, and chest here and infused for more Max Magicka if you wanted to. And you could definitely probably push that over 50k if you wanted to. with the infused body pieces. So if you don't have IA, or if you've been farming it for whatever reason, you just can't seem to get that lightning staff to drop. I have heard these issues. There is a set from Arx Cranium, that's another dungeon, called the Undaunted Infiltrator. It gives you max Magicka, and it gives you weapon crit. And then the 5-piece is like when you activate a magic ability, your light attacks deal like 700 extra damage, and your heavy attacks deal like 1.1 thousand extra damage for like 10 seconds, I want to say. So you could definitely run those. That comes in Arx Cranium. Or if you just don't want to farm anything, because Necropotence is an overline set here. And of course, you'll have to go into Crypto Hearts 1 for the monster set, and then try to your luck at the shoulders out of the chest. Or if you don't want to farm anything, so you can just buy the Necropotence, there is another set that drops in Auradon called Queen Elegance set. And what that does is it gives you spell damage, max Magicka, and then your light and heavy attacks deal an additional 20% damage. That right there is good as well. Definitely would be my choice of replacing Infallible Aether with, or Aether, the mage set here. That would be the one I would replace it with, would be the Queen's Elegance. Now, skills. We're running Inner Light. While slot, your max Magicka is increased by 5%, you gain Major Prophecy, increasing your spell critical rating by 2.1. This is more, it's like 7% actually, because with Mage's Guild, you get the additional 2% here for having slot, plus your magic recovery is increased by 2% as well. So, that's why we have it there. Mage's Guild isn't leveled up, don't worry about it too much. It's not that huge of a deal, but every little bit sometimes helps. Summon Volatile Familiar. Command the powers Oblivion to send a Daedric Familiar to fight at your side. The Familiar attacks deals 1.3k shock damage, plus an additional 30% damage. Once summoned, you can activate the Familiar special ability, dealing 4.4k shock damage every 2 seconds for 8 seconds to enemies near him. The final pulse will stun all enemies hit for 3 seconds. So, let's bring my little pet out. You'll see him. You just double cast him. That's it. You'll just see it pulsating. And then the last one, you'll see everybody just stop and get stunned. So, Empowered Ward. Conjure globes of Daedric energy for protection, granting a damage shield for you and your pets that absorbs 7.2k damage for 10 seconds. Damage shield strength can be capped at 40% of your max health. Also grants minor intellect to you and nearby allies, increase your magic cover by 10% for 10 seconds. So basically, anyone near us, they're going to get minor intellect as well. So, our recovery is 796 right now. Cast that. 848. So it's not a whole lot, it's just something. And on the back bar, it's 858. So now, next we have Daedric Prayer. Curse an enemy with a destructive ruin, dealing 12.6k magic damage to the target and 6.1k magic damage to all other nearby enemies after 6 seconds. While the curse is active, your pets deal an additional 55% damage to the target, except your Storm Atro, which only deals an additional 40% damage. You can only have one Daedric Prey active at a time. Then we have Endless Fury. Call down lightning to strike an enemy, dealing 3.8k shock damage. If the enemy falls to or below 20% health within 4 seconds of being struck, an explosion deals an additional 13.7k shock damage to them and 2.6k shock damage to other enemies nearby. If any enemy is killed by this ability, you restore 4.4k Magicka. This is our execute. This is what we're going to spam when the boss or when the mob gets close to death. Around 20k, 15%, 20%, 15%, just depending on where they're at. When they get to around 300,000, this is what we're going to be casting. And then we have our Thunderous Rage. Create a storm at the target location that builds after 2 seconds. Then lay waste to all enemies in the area, dealing 10.6k shock damage every 1 second for 7 seconds. Ability lasts 2 seconds longer from using a lightning staff. So it's going to last for 9 seconds. And it's going to deal a ton of damage because we do get the bonus and shock damage from being a sorcerer. We have it on the front bar because we don't have a destruction staff equipped. So, back bar. Inner Light, because we got a double bar. Same thing with our pet. And we're running Power Surge. Evokes Meridia's name to gain Major Brutality and Major Sorcery, increasing your weapon damage and spell damage by 20% for 33 seconds. While active, dealing a critical strike heals you for 2.7k health. This effect can occur once every 1 second. So essentially, buffed up there. Let's go ahead and cast our shield. We're looking at 2.7k spell damage and magic recovery is 848. and that is without the weapon damage enchant as well. Then we have Liquid Lightning. Create a Nexus Storm Energy at target location, dealing 3.3k shock damage to enemies in the area every 1 second for 10 seconds. An ally standing within the Nexus can activate the Conduit synergy, dealing 9.8k shock damage to enemies around them. And then Blockade of Storm. Slam your staff down to create a storm barrier in front of you, dealing 2.6k shock damage to enemies in the target area every 1 second. Second concussed enemies off balance for 5 seconds. Then we have Shooting Star. Cause a comet down from the constellations to blast an enemy, dealing 17.8k flame damage to all enemies in the area, knocking them back and stunning them for 2 seconds. After impact, enemies in the target area take 5.6k flame damage every 1 second for 10 seconds. You generate 9 ultimate for each enemy hit by the initial blast. So, 213 to cast, 170 to cast. We're going to use this to start with, and in between we're going to use Shooting Star. So, let's go ahead and dismiss our pet real quick. So we don't want more damage than what it will be. So, I'll show you. So, Wall of Elements down. With that going, you'll see 13.3, 7.9, 12.8, 7.6, 5.3. So as long as Wall of Elements down, 9.3, 9.3, 9.3. I mean, we're going to deal quite a bit of damage. So it's just Wall of Elements, heavy attacking as well on the Precursor. And keep in mind, the Precursor is not a very good DPS test. You know, it does not have a lot of health, and its resistances, I believe, are a little lower than what a 3 mil dummy would be. But this will just give you the general idea on the damage itself with Lambris and them going. So it's going to take a little second. 20k in 16 seconds. So I mean, again, the Precursor is not that good of a telling for DPS wise, but it does show off a little bit. So as you can see, so essentially you would just buff up with that, and then quick little demonstration of the rotation real quick. So you would wrong button. So then you would heavy attack twice, repeat the rotation, and then execute when you can. So, that's why that stuff is not showing up. Okay, I was confused on that there for a second. But yeah, but essentially, oh yeah, there we go. Okay, I was wondering why that wasn't showing up there for a second. But yeah, that's pretty much the rotation. You're essentially just gonna pet, curse, and then a couple heavy attacks, and then repeat the rotation. Light attacks in between each one. So that is the build for the pet Sorc, and until next time, y'all take care.